I made more money on my first book based off of the people that didn't read it than the people that did.
Tell me what you mean.
I was a financial advisor. I used it as my business card. I handed out maybe 2,000 books when I was processing that year. One of the biggest clients I got from handing out those books.
Welcome to the Your Message Received podcast. And now, taking your message to the finish line, your host, John Duffin.
Hey folks, John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Welcome back to another episode of Your Message Received. Your Message Received is the home, the place, the platform to help you find your best, most true, authentic business voice. Maybe we'll shorten that up and just say your most true voice. Get what you want, find what you need, improve your results, make billions of dollars, meet the person of your dreams. That's why we have today's guest on, because we feel confident that he'll help us do all that. Although we ain't guaranteeing none of that, those last two things. The rest of it, though, we will do. I'm very excited for today. I've got someone today, Adam Torres, who joins us. First off, Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, I'm happy to be here, and I like that list of what you were talking about, the personal dreams, all the other things. And what was the last two you said? To help people
make billions of dollars.
No, you said something about help people meet the person or the of their dreams. What? I'm not guaranteeing.
Yeah.
One,
well, guess what?
But hold up, quick plug for that one, John. It starts with you. That's Anna Yu's show. You want to do that? That's a relationship podcast.
Wait a minute, Anna Yu? All right,
there
so
you go.
Right.
That's the one. If you want to get the skill set to be able to meet and connect with the person in your dreams, you tune into her podcast. It starts with you. YOO.
It starts
but I'm not giving that one because I don't have that one. We'll get her book for your show, John. That's what we'll do, because I'm not relationship advice. She's helping me still.
So here's the great part. When somebody drops value in the first 30 seconds of the episode, you know we got a winner, folks. And for me, so easier said than done, I would say, but quite achievable. The very first question, folks, what mission matters to you? And the reason I get to ask this is because Adam specializes in this, has created a company, Mission Matters, the platform, one of the top rated podcasts in the world. Over 25 million views so far, a monthly reach of 1 million plus people. This dude has conducted 6,000 podcast interviews and has interviewed more than 2,500 CEOs and is a published author and speaker. And that's just getting rolling, man. Adam, rather than ask what, like, the typical, how do you get this all in your schedule or whatever, I really want to find out is what draws you to someone, like, when you're looking for people in your Mission Matters platform, like, what organically draws you? What makes you curious about somebody in terms of adding them to a platform?
Yeah. Well, let's take that back, because it's stages and there's different iterations. So I'm 9 years in, so it's a lot of years in. So if you go back to the beginning, John, what drew me to adding somebody to the platform? They had a pulse and they were breathing. That's what we were doing. If you didn't, there you go. Why? Yep. Because nobody knew me. Nobody knew anything. I'm trying to get people on there. You had a pulse and you were breathing. But hey, we were in good company. Like the greats that did this business once upon a time. I remember seeing an episode, and Johnny Carson was talking about his early days, and he's saying, author, whatever, cookbook or whatever you had, you were going on the show way early days before the Tonight Show. So, you got to start somewhere. And I start with that because if you're out there and you're just starting your show, it's okay. It's good to be small. It's good to have time to find your voice. So in the early days, to answer your question, it was whoever had a pulse and was breathing. As the show grew, we've been blessed. Fast forward to this year. Last year we had over 30,000 people that applied to be on the show. This year we'll probably exceed 40,000 people. And now, the company's become a little bit bigger. It's a little bit harder, and it's to manage expectations. I'm still working as hard as I can to get the episodes out, though. Just for some context, John, I'll do between 1,500 and 2,000 interviews this year. So this year. So I'm still putting out, depending on how many episodes somebody puts out, if you're doing an episode a week, I'm still doing maybe 40 years of content every year. So that's my cadence. And if you're out there thinking, well, that sounds impossible, it's okay. It's not for everybody. It's not, I don't think you have to do that. I think there's shows that are better than mine that put out one episode a week. And so it's not about quantity there, but my aim and my personal mission, which is what you opened up the show with, was
correct.
My personal mission is to help others get their story out there. So one of the ways that I manifest that is by leading from the front. Like I'm not gonna claim I'm the best or the most talented at this, but I'm gonna claim I'm one of the hardest working. That's for sure. So I'll make up for it by bringing more people on, hosting more shows, trying to do more, trying to help more people get their message out as well. So now what we look for now, a lot of times we're either going through like a lot of the big conferences I cover, and actually, John, this is the first show that I'm bringing this up on. It's very likely that I'm going to be interviewing some presidents from some other countries this year. So there's about 6 countries where there's some individuals lining that up, and that'll be my first foray into doing that. By the way, like that's a whole nother level of interviews. But it all started with a podcast. Not having a website and interviewing people that didn't even you had a pulse, you were on the show.
So it's an amazing trajectory, and I love the fact that you break that from if you had a pulse, you were on the show, into tapping us first. Hey, and I love a scoop, by the way, so thank you.
Yeah.
When you talk about the fact, 6 presidents, it's amazing to me. So you came from the world of finance. What was growing up like for you before you went in? I want to go all the way back and then ramp quickly forward.
Well, finance was, I thought I was always going to be in finance. I started at my first firm when I was 16, working at Raymond James and Associates in their IRA department. So I was a lifer. I was fine. And I loved that career. When I started in media, I didn't even start in media. I didn't know what I was doing. All I did was I started my own RIA. So I had my own firm, and I had my mentor. And he says, you got to write a book. And I'm like, I'm not writing a book. That's for, and again, back then I was a finance guy, had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I was like, write a book? That's stupid. That's for broke people. Like people that write books, why do I care about a $5 product? I'm moving millions of dollars and investing for clients and this, that. Honestly, I had a chip on my shoulder. I didn't really understand the power of words. I didn't understand the power of helping people by sharing your story, like all these things. And I tell people this as well in the story, because if you think that you don't have a shot at doing something, my first book, I dictated it. I basically did it on a recorder, transcribed it, had it edited, and put it out, and it was self-published as it gets. And when I did that, that was my first foray, and that started to build. I had some uncommon experiences. I was on speaking tours as far away as China off a little self-published book. Now, I'm not claiming that that's going to happen for everybody, or even that it needs to. My story and all this, that's God. I don't and when I look back at all this stuff, God, this is all God that's doing that's definitely navigating this ship, and for me to be able to have these experiences and to have the strength to continue, just to wake up in the morning. So looking at those things, it's always been this play of, for me, my relationship with God and getting these messages, and, ask first, he tells me to step. When I step, I'm rewarded. If I don't, then sometimes it just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel off. I have a lot of misses. A lot of things happen that shouldn't. And I'll give you one quick example in the history of the story of the company. The original company's name was Money Matters, because I was a financial advisor.
Yep.
So it was Money Matters. One day I'm interviewing somebody, and the person says, money matters, but mission matters too, Adam. And I'm telling you, it was like God just hit me in the stomach. I'm like, oh, that's the way me and God talk, by the way. So it's okay. He'll put me in the head, noogie. Come on, listen. I'm like, okay, fine. What do you want me to do? I'm not doing this. And then I'm punished. No, I'm just like, that's the Catholic side of it.
I love the intimacy of what you just said. A couple real fast questions. Number one. Were you always, and I'm using the word spirit, would you be spiritual or religious or both?
Religious. I don't know the difference. I don't know. I have a relationship with God, and I don't even know what that means, honestly. I'm not that fancy. God just runs the ship. That's all.
Did you always have that?
I think that yes, well, not I think, I mean, yes, I just always did. I always had I just remember being given certain messages. Like the first time I read about Gandhi, that's the first time I thought about like a billion people. And I'm like, whoa, just by and what he was doing. And my mother was a social worker, worked with at-risk youth. And
Right.
I don't know, I just always wanted to help people. Like that was always
Mm,
just a part of it. Like even in going into finance, it wasn't necessarily for the money. It was just interesting to me. That was all.
mm.
Like, but I always felt there was going to be some purpose or something out there. And I've been pretty gifted in certain areas, but that was all I got. I don't like, I can't take credit for certain gifts. It's like, okay, great. I mean, we work and we step, but that's it's not, doesn't have to be that way.
I like the fact, and the only reason I ask that question, I'm more spiritual. Like I believe
Mm,
and I know there's someone greater than
sure.
me. I just am always curious in terms of the foundation of it.
Mm,
I never used to, not never. I used to push that away for a while. So I always found it
mm,
interesting when somebody brings it up. I'm much more receptive in terms of an overall view
yeah.
rather than the rules and regulations type. I'm just more in the
Yeah.
sense of believing in someone more than me. And I love the fact you incorporated in your thoughts at some point
Mm,
Gandhi and helping in service. That's the reason I ask. It's like
yeah.
I'm more embracing of it as I've gotten older. And
Mm,
for me, I stumbled back in regards to, like I said, I was heading down a wrong road, and then for
mm,
me, it just seemed to be a good wake up call. So I asked that question
yeah.
simply because I always wonder, like, where did it come from? And for you,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's an always was.
Oh, it's for me, it's divine. There's no
Yeah,
question. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
divine. Like God, like my relationship, it's just divine. Like I can't explain. It's been there since I was a kid. That relationship, I mean, that understanding, that
Mhm.
warmth.
And that acceptance on your part, the fact that you accepted and weren't fighting it, or you know what
Mm,
I mean. That to me is, I think, really in terms of exciting and
mm.
very powerful. Uh, who was the guest that said money matters, but mission matters more?
I wish I could find them. I have no idea. I wish I could find them. And then what happens next? So talking about like step and whatever. So I talked to the other co-founder here. His name's Shirag Sagar,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, hey Shirag, so what do you think about the name Mission Matters for our
Right.
company? And he goes, we talk about we're gonna have regular meeting, blah blah blah.
Mm.
And he comes back like let's call it a couple weeks later, and he's like, hey Adam, what do you think about the name Mission Matters for our company? And I'm just like, they talk about how God works through people, like he
Mhm.
speaks the other stuff. He had no
Yeah.
recollection of our earlier
Oh
conversation.
my God.
It was his idea at that point. He says, what about Mission Matters? And I'm like, oh, and I like a good co-founder, it's his idea, it's fine. And it wasn't ego. He just genuinely just wasn't even thinking about our previous conversation. So I said, well, if we have enough money in the bank, we're going to buy that domain because we know
Mm.
it's taken 100%. Missionmatters.com is just it's too big of a brand to not be taken. So it was already taken. We bought the domain, and within 9 days, just for some context about
Yeah.
about faith,
Mhm.
we already had maybe 10 books already published under Money Matters. I'd
Right.
already conducted over 1,500 interviews under Money Matters. So the podcast, we already
Wow.
had a social media audience. We already had a website built, entirely functioning brand, company, and media brand. It's hard enough to start one media company. This is years into our journey.
Right.
And so, like, I think 3 years or so into our journey, maybe four.
Mm.
And so, based on my faith and
Mm.
Shirag having the foresight of what his insight was, we stopped on a dime and restarted everything in 9 days, including losing all of our subscribers, all of our everything, and starting brand new from scratch. And once we did that, it was just a whole nother planet right after that. Like it's like we were rewarded, not immediately.
Mhm.
Took a little bit of time like everything does, but then just the scope, the vision, the everything. It's just one of those moments.
So do you always move full speed ahead in terms of your decision making?
Never, never. Like I always say no, and I don't want to do it, and I hate it. My
Mhm.
first book, I didn't want to do that. Launching the podcast, I didn't want to do that. Let me tell you how I made the decision to go full time
Yes.
into this versus because I had a fully operational and functioning business and
Mhm.
firm. I had my own RIA. So both companies are kind of growing at the same time, and they're both getting to the point where I'm not Elon Musk in the sense that I don't concentrate well on many things,
Mhm.
whereas he can have multiple companies and this and that and juggle it all. I'm good. I'm a one trick pony. Like
Mhm.
that's it. I can do one thing. That's why I'm pretty decent at podcasting because I'm like, okay, 6,000 episodes. What happens when I have 60,000? Like I'm just playing. Like that's
Yeah.
fine. That's how I think. So I can focus really well on one thing and innovate that one thing. So in this case, I got two things that are not related and are completely different sides of the brain.
Yep.
Finance, that's all one side of the brain. Podcasting, that's all the other side of the brain. Like that's just the way it is. So I'm gonna have this conflict and both are growing at the same time. So I remember clear as day. I just moved into a new place.
Mhm.
I have I put everything away and I have the only thing that I don't have put up yet is, you know how I had every license you can think of, your Series 6, 67, CFP, 14-year career, name it, insurance license, whatever. So those are all kind of on the floor and I'm super exhausted. I just moved in.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm feeling anxious and I'm like, all right, I know when I feel anxious, it's time to start praying.
Mhm.
So I start praying and I'm like, before I go to bed, and again, this is the way I talk to God. So if you're out there and you got all these prayers and things, I'm sorry. I just have regular conversations. That's what me and God
Mhm.
do. So I
Mhm.
tell him, I'm like, all right, God. And I remember it clear as day. I don't need you to part the Red Sea or anything. Like, that's not what I need, but you got to tell me what to do. Like, just tell me. I don't need all this stuff and I got to figure it out. Just tell me what to do. Like, I need a sign. And I don't normally do that, but I'm pretty frustrated. I'm like, so just tell me. I don't need you to part the Red Sea. And I say it as a joke. And then I go to bed. I wake up the next morning and I put my feet on the ground and they're wet. I'm standing in water. And the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm like, I said you, and I get mad. I'm like, I told you that I don't need you to part the Red Sea.
Let alone bring it into my new apartment.
And so I'm
Right.
thinking to myself, hold on. So I try to go, it's such a vivid dream, I'm thinking.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
try to go
Wow.
back to sleep. So
Mhm.
I try to go back to sleep and I put my feet back in the bed and then it's not working. And now I just realized that, okay, this is very uncomfortable. My sheets are wet. So, so, so I realize, okay, I'm awake. I get up and I'm like, all right. So then I start walking to the light. I turn on the light. And as soon as I turn on the light, I'm looking down because I'm trying to figure out what the water is.
Mm.
All of my certificates from finance are all ruined. They're all submerged in water. Ruined, completely ruined. Like,
Wow.
so the Series 7, 6, 63, all of those ruined.
Mm.
And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I get it. I see what I'm supposed to be doing. So right that moment, just that divine inspiration or divine message, I literally pick them all up before I even see where the water was coming from. I pick them all up. I go throw them in the
Oh my
trash
God.
bin, and I
Oh
and I
God.
take a picture of it. I take a picture of it from the trash bin, so I could always remember. I have the picture still of the all of the plaques, and they're all ruined, and I have them in there. So then I go back in the house and it turns out that the water heater. So hey, just so you know, God controls water
Mhm.
heaters and when they're gonna rust.
Mhm.
It's
There you
all
go.
good.
Right. Right.
Do I move fast? No. Sometimes I need like
Mhm.
perfect timing of everything. I don't move fast at all. I don't want to do anything. I didn't want to do my first podcast. I don't want to do anything, but my relationship, my prayer and things like that, like it took that to pry me away from a 14-year career.
Mhm. I think the literalness of it
Yeah.
is what's so compelling to me. I love the fact that you threw all the stuff out. I mean, I don't love it, but I'm just saying the
It it
decisiveness
was the
to
feeling too, though. It was
right,
so
right.
like,
Mhm.
because remember the key is I'm not asking you to part the Red Sea, and then I wake up and I'm in water,
And you're in the
and
sea, right?
then as soon as I put my feet down, that comes to my head. It's
Mhm.
not like I'm sitting there thinking. It's like I'm mad. I feel like I told you not to part the Red Sea. What am I doing in water? And I'm freaking out. So
Jesus God.
it's all of it.
That's an incredibly powerful story, man. I wanna go back to the book part when you talk about it, and
Yeah.
I know you've been asked this a lot,
No, go for it.
but I wanted one of the things that I think about is this, that most people in my current sphere, me included, is like, "We're about ready to finish the book," and all that stuff like that, and you hear a lot of "about ready to." So, I wanna talk about that process. I didn't wanna write that first book.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious for that first one. I think of somebody like a
Hmm.
John Maxwell who talks about he didn't even like his first
Yeah.
5 books, yet there were 5 books done. Why is it so important that
Yeah.
somebody write a book?
Well, I don't know if it's important that somebody write a book, but I know it's important for somebody to have a book, and I'll explain the
Okay.
difference.
Yeah, please.
So writing a book, when we think about like somebody like a John Maxwell or someone else like that, who's going to have a full-time career as a coach, and or they have this methodology or something they're working out, and they're on a speaking circuit, like they're out there hustling. That's a business. That's something different. That's not what most people want. They're not. When I ask somebody, because by the way, we're publishers, so we publish books. So we published over 400 authors, just FYI. Including Barry Sanders. Speaking of Michigan, we published his autobiography.
Right.
There you
Sure.
go.
Right.
So, when I'm talking, I'm having those conversations with clients. I'm like, do you want a really expensive paperweight, or like, what's your plan for this book? Like, that's where I start. Like, why write the book? Because what you want the book to really be is your business card, depending on who you are and what your plans are. If you think your first book is going to be that magnum opus or like this or that, like probably not. Probably not. Like unless you and if it is, then you're probably missing the mark anyway, because you don't know if there's an audience for the book, because you spent all your time writing a book and you don't have an audience that wants it. So probably not. Like the times have changed. So what we've done and at the is we've designed, and this was from the beginning when I wrote my first book, is individuals came to us and they're like, oh, can you write a book? Can you write a book? Can you help me write a book? And I thought it was ridiculous, because I'm like, no, I can't help you write a book, because I'm a financial advisor. I can manage your money. But individuals kept coming up. So I looked at me with my finance brain. I looked at, okay, what's the easiest way? What's the most effective? What makes sense? So I look at the entire industry, and I come up with the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. And I'm like, oh, look at that model. Look what Jack Canfield did. Look what Deepak Chopra did. And what they did was, it was an anthology series in the beginning. And so for those of you that don't know what the word anthology means, or an anthology series that are listening to this, it just means that everybody contributes a chapter. It's a group of authors. Think of it that way. It's a group of authors. They all contribute. It's in the same book, and you distribute it under a common theme. That's a simple explanation of it. So we created a series for business leaders. Think of it as the Chicken Soup for the Soul, but for business and for entrepreneurs. And we've published hundreds of individuals there. It's a best-selling book. We printed tens of thousands of books. And we just actually released our 11th edition a month or so ago. We're in June 11th, 2025. We released it in May. So I think that to answer your question, I want to give the background. Whether you want it or not, be part of a book. Like whether it's an anthology, and I'm not being self-promotional, because ours is by application, and it's just, we only do one a year, and there's a lot of people. So I'm not even saying that if somebody contacted me that they would have the opportunity to. So I don't want you to think that, but be part of them. There's a lot of companies that do it. You're welcome to apply, but be part of a book. And if you're going to write your own book, don't think it has to be a 300-page book. Get a 100-page book out there.
Right.
Like, get something out there, and make sure that it's your words, or you can use a ghostwriter. But even a ghostwriter, and this is a misunderstanding many have, a ghostwriter is not going to give you your ideas. A ghostwriter, most ghostwriter processes is they're going to interview you, they're going to get your ideas, they're going to record it, and they're going to figure out, and you're going to go back and forth and refining that book. And many of our authors, as I mentioned, we're publishers. Many of our authors use ghostwriters because they're busy. They're busy executives, and they don't have time. They run companies. They have other things. They can't just sit down and write a book, because they're not even necessarily interested in having, a $5 margin on a book product. Like that's not the point. But once you have your book, it's like you're in this special club. You're in this club called published authors. And once you're a bestseller, you're in another club. It's called best-selling published authors. And what that means is now you have a solid foundation to build on. And you don't need 5 books, like you mentioned. Like, you need one. You need one. And guess what? Some of the best people that have ever done this business, think about like a Tony Robbins, man, he was on the same book for 20 years or something before he came out with another. He doesn't need another book. Like, one book is really all you need, because once you're a published author once, you're good. You're a published author. Done. Nobody's like, what year or what was they're probably not going to read it anyway. You're okay. It's fine.
It's funny to me that I love that you say there's so many people that I know, and I've done it, which is, or you buy the book and you read the first 10, 50, 100 pages, whatever, and then you're done in terms of you're done reading. You know what I'm saying? But I'll
tell you what, John, on my first book,
Right.
I made more money on my first book based off of the people that didn't read it than the people that did.
Tell me what you mean.
I was a financial advisor. I used it as my business card. I handed out maybe 2,000 books when I was processing that year. One of the biggest clients I got from handing out those books.
Right.
I give him the book. He's in Century City, California. It's adjacent to Beverly Hills. For anybody that doesn't know where that area is, think about Century City as it's like the little brother to Hollywood. It's like where CAA is at, and all the big Hollywood deals get done. All the lawyers, the money managers in Southern California, a lot of them have offices there. So that's the power behind Hollywood. Think of it that way.
Yeah.
So I remember having lunch with this gentleman. I was prospecting him. I wanted to manage his money. You know, one of these fancy lawyers, $700 an hour. He's making bank, right? I give him the book and at a lunch, and out of courtesy, he puts it in his bag. And my guess is he probably wanted to put it in the trash. He didn't care about it for sure. He's a nice guy and all, but there's zero chance he was going to let me manage his money. Absolutely zero. And so he goes home. He obviously did not throw it in the trash. He put it in his briefcase. He probably forgot it was in his briefcase. Goes home, does what he normally does on his kitchen counter. He tells me about this afterwards, by the way. So this is how I know. But on his kitchen counter, he empties his briefcase. The book's there. It falls out. His wife says, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, this young guy, this financial advisor, he wants to manage his money." And she gives him this look that he says that she's only given him maybe a couple times in their marriage, and says, "You call him." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "I've been bugging you to get our estate plan and finances in order now for 3 years. You haven't done it. You call him tomorrow and you make an appointment with him, and we're going to see him at his earliest convenience." And he says, "Man, she has only looked at me a couple times like that." And I said, "Yes, dear," gave her a kiss. And that's why we're on the phone. And I said, "Let me guess, you read it, right?" And when he called me, I'm like, "Come on, man, you didn't read that book. What are you calling me for? What? You gonna?" And he just starts laughing and he tells me this story. And I'm like, I said, "Well, the book trick worked." And he's like, "It sure did, Adam. When can we come in?"
Best business card. That's, to me, it's.
I don't even know if you read the title. I don't think he looked at it when he answered. It doesn't matter.
But Adam, this is why I think it's so important, in the sense that it's the understanding of what it could be. Like you said, if you're treating the book, and I've done that with
business card,
stuff, where it's not just a business card, but I've done the opposite. UPRO didn't work. You want to treat it like some manifesto of all that, you know what I mean? And
you know what I call it? I'll tell you what I call it. It's ridiculous. So, you know, back in the day, they had carrier pigeons. I call them my pigeons. No, I'm serious. Let me tell you, we had a.
You're too young to know what carrier pigeons are.
Man, I have a TV. What are you talking about? Come on.
And a brain, obviously. So, right.
So we just did a book launch, and this is again, God. Like, we had at the Roosevelt House in Upper East Side in Manhattan, Congresswoman Maloney, she hosted us, and Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, who was one of the sponsors of that particular edition of the book. So I think Upper East Side, I think it's like right off of Madison Avenue. I mean, the most posh, it's the Roosevelt House. The Clintons hold their fundraisers there. It's insane. So we went there, and it was a Mission Matters book launch, which is that in itself, that's insane. It's ridiculous. So when you think about, we're a small publishing house. We're not Wiley or like Random House or any of these. Like, so we're small. We're a hybrid publisher. And so everybody that came to that, there's about, I think, 150 people that came, got a book. So what I like to think about it is, these are all my carrier pigeons. They all got the messages going. And it's a carrier pigeon because there's a message in there. So it's not just, and they're carrying it with them all these places. So who knows what's going to come from that? I don't know, but I know that all those books are in some really interesting homes that there's zero chance that they're ever going to click on a Facebook ad, a YouTube ad, a post. I will never penetrate the echo chambers that these individuals have built, other than the exact way that was done. It's absolutely impossible.
But the literal sense of what you just described, that in the sense that any guest who enters the home,
it's accurate.
They're going to see it. You know what I mean? That it's so carrier pigeon. It is. So thank you.
Accurate.
That's accurate. And from this point forward, I'll think of my own, right? I think that part
Oh,
is
hold on. Here
great.
you go. Here goes one
Let
of
me
my
see. Let me see. Let me
birdies.
see.
This was the most recent one. Mission Matters, Volume 11. This is my
Wow.
most recent carrier pigeon. I
Wow.
can't believe it. 400 authors already. It's
Well, that's what I was
crazy.
going to say. That part to me, that you're up to 400 authors. When you were establishing the criteria, and I'm guessing with the books, you were not looking like your first podcast guest, anybody with a pulse. Who were you looking for to add value? I don't mean what were their names, but what was it?
Oh, there it's all public. What do you mean? Of course, I
Yeah.
was looking for the best names, the most successful people I could find. Like
How
it's
did you
all
get 'em?
public.
How did you get them?
And I'll give you one particular one, for example, was Scott Chaplin. He's a pretty big in real estate and other things here. And what's very interesting is he was in our first book when we didn't have a website and took a big chance on us. And this is when it comes full circle. And this is just one of those things. I'm like, God just talks to me. He actually approached us, and he's also in our 11th edition. It came full circle. So he was in the first edition and the 11th.
And the newest as well, too.
Insane. And so the criteria was first off, I wanted to make sure that they want to be part of that community. We don't look at it as a book. It's a community. So we used to hold these, so right off of Rodeo Drive in Wilshire, so Beverly Wilshire Hotel. That's the iconic Pretty Woman Hotel for people. That's where that was filmed, for people that don't know what that hotel is, but it's just amazing, iconic hotel and brand. And we used to hold monthly mixers there and get-togethers, and that's where we got our first authors for. It was like we weren't thinking about who by resume. We were thinking about who wants to be part of this community. So that was the key. I'm not into building an elitist brand. That's not what we're doing. That doesn't align with who I am or where I'm from. It's who wants to contribute to this community and who wants to build together. That's the main thing. And it just so happens that we were in a place like Beverly Hills and where my office was and other things like that. So we attracted a different clientele, but I don't think that you have to do that. I always tell people when they say, how do you grow something big? You focus local. You focus local first. If you can't win your local, how are you going to win the world? If nobody around you cares, if you have a podcast right now and you're stuck at a certain amount of downloads, you need to see, is your cousin listening to it? Is your mom listening to it? Is your uncle listening to it? Are other people like, do they even know you have a podcast? And I'm guilty of this too. I've had a cousin like 2 years ago. Remember, I'm 9 years in this business. So 2 years ago, he's like, hey, Adam. And I still remember because it hurt my ego. It hurt it bad. He's like, hey, Adam, I heard you have a podcast. What's it called? And I'm like, you heard I have a podcast? You're my family. What are you talking? We're Facebook friends. We're on Instagram. I've probably done hundreds of posts. We've created over 100,000 pieces of content, and you're just figuring I got a podcast. So if my own family doesn't know I have one as little as 2 years ago when I had probably 4,000 episodes recorded, then I guarantee you, if your podcast isn't growing right now, it's because your family doesn't even know you have a podcast. Get out there and tell people.
I think just the way you said that, you know what I mean, to conquer local. It's funny to me that like sometimes the most obvious things, and that should have just hit me in the face. It's like, no, I'm immediately thinking, well, go global.
If you can't get your local chamber of commerce to invite you and give you a booth, then if you can't get a free booth from your local chamber of commerce to go do some interviews, then you ain't there yet, man. You better go to the ice cream store and do a booth there. Shake a hand. This sticker that I held up, it starts with you. So Anna, she created this sticker, and what it is, she gives them out by the 1,000. And she shakes hands and she talks to people, and that's why her show's growing. Same thing I do. I have these poker chips. I don't have one near me. Actually, I don't know where they're at right this moment. Hold on, wait, I don't have one. But I've given out these poker chips with my podcast on it. I don't know, thousands of these through the years, but they're, I guess I don't have any near me right now, but I would hold it up. But think of it as it's an actual poker chip, and it has my face on it and everything, and the back of it has a QR code. I give them away by the 1,000.
I think, to me, what's fascinating, and I love this, that so much of this with current technology and so many things that you hold dear, it seems, so many, and local was the word I wanted to go with, local or old school, so to speak, ways to be able to make a lasting impression.
Well, it depends, but it depends on where you're at too. Yeah. So if somebody's getting less than 50 episodes per episode or 50 downloads per episode, you're not there yet. It's okay. Why you guys spend all this money and make Facebook rich? Go talk to somebody near you who's going to actually, especially for those that are doing business. If you
Right.
got a business, like go shake someone's hand.
Mhm.
Like get some money. Somebody's got your money on the other side of that handshake.
See, that's funny because it's like I my former career was broadcast and TV and radio ad sales
Mm,
is how it started, and that's what you did. And
mhm,
every once in a while, and I'm happy to throw myself under a bus in this regard, which is for if it helps anybody, which is and every once in a while I forget that. And
mhm,
so these are great reminders. That's why it's really important to me to bring people on that go through that can actually navigate the steps along the
mhm.
way because you can forget things, you
Yeah.
know, regardless of how successful or what you learned or who you're hanging out with and whether it's the Clintons or you know what I mean or it's I love the fact that you're looking for a poker chip somewhere that just does my heart.
Yeah.
uh, in terms of the people that you choose to interview now, what matters to you currently in regards to what it is like when you're seeking
Mhm.
people to share their story? When you're
Yeah.
what draws you currently in terms of
Um,
stories that need to be told?
I'm not involved as much in the day to day. We're shooting series now. So for
Yeah.
example,
Okay.
I'm doing a Milken series. The reason why that's
Okay.
on the agenda, I'll do over 200 interviews for there. That's one of the largest conferences in the world.
Mhm.
Probably top three conferences. It's like 30 grand a ticket just for
Okay.
not
Yeah.
to sponsor it, just to
Just to
walk
attend.
in. It's 30
Right.
grand. So you have the world's leaders there. I just did the FII Priority Conference or Priority in Miami. And just for context, the president did the keynote. Elon Musk was there, like the CEO of TikTok. I'm working on some other series with some other governments in Africa and
Mhm.
also looking at doing more work in Saudi Arabia. So at this point, I'm looking at how to make more impact, and it can be on the one-on-one. I still do a ton of interviews one-on-one,
Mhm.
and for anybody that wants to apply or otherwise, there's just go
Mhm.
to missionmatters.com, or actually just go to my Instagram, ask Adam
Yeah.
Torres, and
Mhm.
there's a link there to like get interviewed and all that stuff. So all the normal stuff. But
Mhm.
for me, I don't handle that part of the day to day. So to answer your question, I'm more looking for like what series is next of
Yeah.
interviews. And so for that, I'm just slightly changing your question. So if you were to say what series of interviews, I'm looking at like things that are making an impact worldwide. So I'm thinking about, the next UN meeting in New York. I'm thinking about the next World Bank meeting in DC. I'm thinking about I just today this Afro Caribbean initiative that's going to be in the Caribbean islands is going to be taking place this year. I'm thinking about maybe creating a series there, and that's talking about increasing the business between the Caribbean and Africa and the rest of the world. So I'm looking at more like how I can have a bigger global impact by creating these series of interviews with leaders from different regions around the world. So that's what I'm personally working on and strategizing right now.
So we'll stay with the series instead of the
Hmm.
individual one-offs, right?
Yeah,
Um, now, obviously, the criteria changes in regards to the
yeah.
series itself and what have you. Do you find yourself asking like do the things that mattered to you? Me even say because everything moves so fast, even a year ago. Like
Yeah.
obviously the questions change, but the foundation, the framework of what you want to know, whether
Yeah.
it's the series, the Afro Caribbean, or do you find that your questions are there constants in regards to the types of questions that matter, or is it really customized to the series and everything changes in each episode?
All
Change.
I'm aiming for well, one thing, evergreen. I don't want to make, and this might sound bad. I don't know. Actually, you're a professional that's actually went to school for this stuff and came from
Right,
that side. I think I did not, so I was in
right.
finance.
Mhm.
But it's not junk media, but it'd be like maybe low cycle media. I don't know what it's called, but I go for evergreen content. What's the opposite of evergreen? I don't want it.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
If we're just talking about like what's inflation, I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
I did this interview with an economist for the Milken conference, and the economist, when you think about when you interview like a top, I mean, really smart economist, what are you going to think about? Inflation, obviously the economy, what's going on macro, how does this affect this? How does this affect jobs? To
Yes.
me, that changes. That's going to change next quarter. That's going to
Mhm.
change next year. Sure, you can like spend a little bit of time on that, but I was more interested in how did he meet Michael Milken? What drew him to that position in that organization? He told me this story that's not going to change. Hence Evergreen. He told me this story about when he first really became an advocate was when he heard about Michael Milken working to fund, which he ultimately did, this crazy novel idea of a 24-hour news channel. Like, because everybody at that time thought that was the stupidest idea ever. Who would ever want
Would
a
watch it,
24-hour? You know what
right?
that became? CNN. So
Absolutely.
when he's working on that funding, that's when this economist became an advocate and knew that one day he'd be wanting to work for this man. So that story, and no offense to these other outlets, they're huge. They have thousands of employees, but Bloomberg don't have that one. Yahoo doesn't have that one. That's just the craft of the story in the interview. I got that one.
Mm-hmm.
They got in that particular cycle, they got, all the common denominator questions, which they had to, by the way, for their news outlet. I'm not dissing them at all, but it's just a different thing that they're trying to accomplish versus me. They're reporting on what's happening at that moment, which is what people go to them for. People come to me, people come to Mission Matters for the story. They want to know what's going on. They want to know, who is this person? What is their mission? Why does it matter?
That's the evergreen part. That's what I cheer for,
And I've done it intuitively by accident from the beginning. So now you look at the flywheel of our catalog, it's not going to age. It's not going to age.
Right.
Because somebody's grandmother's or somebody's grandchild's going to be watching their grandfather, their grandmother. Like somebody, like it's going to far exceed my lifetime. Like I'll be a short time on this earth. Those interviews are going to be part of people's lineage and their history.
Mm-hmm. In the best of way, without flat, two-dimensional sorts of questions that everyone else is asking. You encourage me so much. I have a niece that's in the television business, and she's been doing more interviews, and she said one of her primary goals is simply not to ask the same questions that everybody else asks. She goes, that's it. She goes, that's all. I just don't want to be one more person piling on with all that stuff. Now, I do want to know this because it mattered to me, and I noticed that you're still doing this, which I think is fun, on the fun and the lighter side. That when I look at your movie ratings, which I
can't wait till somebody brought up Adam ratings. This is the first time.
Well, here you go. So I want to know, you gave Sinners 3 stars. And you did say it was something special.
Yeah.
Nice. But first off, why was it 3 stars and not 4 stars?
It was, and you got to read the definition of the 3-star. 3 stars good. 3 stars
I know it's good.
I thought it was. I want everybody to know the rating system, though. It goes from 1 to 5.
Yep.
One of the things that I didn't feel some of the first off, the lead, he's absolutely amazing. He's absolutely amazing. And looking at afterwards how they created the series and the cameras and all the things that they created to make that happen, it was absolutely amazing. But certain parts of the movie, it's one of those things that I kept getting taken out of the movie. Like I kept getting taken out of the movie, and it was like it didn't feel believable to me sometimes. And like a horror film or things like that, it just kept taking me out, and I had to kind of like guess a little bit, like what's this? What's it? I did like the zinger at the end though. That was fun. That was.
I haven't seen it yet, and that's why I was like, I saw that.
And I do recommend it. A 3 stars is good. On mine, that's good.
I came from a world. It's funny that you talk about 1 to 5 stars. So I came from a world like a corporate world of when they would do employee evaluations, and they would tell you 3 was totally acceptable, and I looked at it as, you better never give me a 3. Because in my mind, I still equate it to just okay, and
Yeah.
you're not saying that. What
Mm-mm.
I'm more
Did
curious
you
about.
see the two? Did you see the two? That should have been a one. Gladiator 2. Oh my gosh. I
Well,
was like,
I'm going to ask you. You don't do 0 stars, so you have to at least give one. And you
Gladiator
just
2 could have been a 1 star, but I gave it a 2 just because I was like, I just didn't,
right.
I couldn't edit it afterwards. But then I was like, did they really need to have sharks in the Coliseum?
All right, so here's my thought: is anytime there's a number, whether it is a big heavy movie or it is The Hangover 2 and or 3 and or Gladiator 2 and or 40, you're almost losing me in the point I don't find that many movies. Now, the Marvel series, or if they're going in a whole different direction, I'm okay
Mhm,
with that.
mhm.
I just like stories for their completion. And for some reason, you just said something where a second ago, did they need to have sharks? This is boardroom decisions. I could be dead wrong. This is a
No,
boardroom.
you're right. It's lack of writers. We never
It's
recovered from the last strike. Like
That's
it's
it.
the
So there's
writers.
not enough
Yeah,
writers.
it's the writers. We
So
have that conversation all the time. Me and my girlfriend, we just all day long talk about like what is up. It's the writers. No, and now we
there's
know
no
how
writers.
important. Now we know how important those writers are. Because
Critical.
that's why the entire thing's in a slump. That's why we don't feel a movie used to be, you watch a movie, you remember it 20 years later.
Absolutely.
A movie would be like, think of Shawshank Redemption. Think of some of
Right.
these where you watch it once and you're like, it affects you, it changes you. You walk away and it's another piece of like you, and you don't forget that. Like that's what film used to be. And yeah, I'm sure there's still some that will continue to have those sparks and moments, but as a whole, a lot of the medium, it's just the writers. There's no like the production value's gone up, the ability to create better effects and other things like that, and to pump something out. It's gotten more efficient and better, but has the stories gotten better? Depends.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's
not
what
as a whole. As a whole, I'm gonna go with no.
Well, here's what I love. I love the part that in the midst of everything that you're rolling with, that you still find time for something fun, which to me, that's fun. Like
Yeah,
whether they're good, bad, whether they're corporate, whether they're bringing in sharks, whether
I'm going to
whatever.
see Mission Impossible this week. That's
Oh
that's
yeah,
on the
okay.
agenda.
So
Yeah, I'll
this
be
is
rating
weird.
Mission Impossible. It
Okay,
looked. I'll
so
tell you what, that trailer looks good.
uh,
Looks dang good.
there's I'm going to literally eat my own words in this regard. When I just said if there's a number next to it, blah, 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 that's different. That's freaking different. And I say so because they have not let anyone down yet with
Yeah.
the series of all of that stuff.
He's the last movie star,
He
realistically.
is the last. He's amazing. And like you said,
But he's just the last real. I mean, no offense
right?
to, not that they care about my opinion or they need my no offense or they feel bad, but a lot of the other ones are just, I mean, there's a couple, Leo still, like, I mean, there's a couple,
Mhm.
but like, there's not, it's kind of like, I like to think of it as like, kind of like when you went from like silent pictures or something else like that. There
Yeah.
was always different times and ages of what a movie star even meant. Now it's going to change to the influencer culture or the this or
That's it.
the that, but it's not like, it's just because ultimately there was always a business model behind it and a way to monetize, but and the stars have changed and some people didn't make it from the silent films to audio, right, to talkie films or whatever, and now from black and white to color to like this that. Now we're just, I feel like, in a transition period to where I mean, even the thought of when you look at Sinners, right? Like
Yeah.
if you saw all of the stuff that he had to wear, like that rig and what all of those things, like if I could do half a stars, I would have gave another half a star just for the
Just
fact that
for
that movie got
just for the
completed.
effort. Right.
Like, but if you think about the acting side of it, like the last thing that I remember, and I could be wrong on this historically, and please
Right.
everybody give some engagement to John and tell us how wrong I am on this
There you
comment.
go.
But
Right there you go.
on YouTube, I want a bunch of comments. Adam's wrong; he's full of it. So here's the thing: is the last at least interview that I remember of like let's just say kind of the Jim Carrey when he did Dr. Seuss. I think that's the last big suit for that type of franchise where somebody
Sure.
put it on and spent all those hours in a chair to go do that performance and basically almost, and I'm not gonna say literally almost died, but that was physically daunting to be able to do what he did to do that.
I think it's one of the reasons he slowed down the movie production, was literally thinking, if this is what I'm going to have to do every day.
Mm-hmm.
I find the energy that you bring phenomenal. One last question for the moment, which is simply this. Number one, you encounter from the highest levels to every level.
Hey, hold on, John. We didn't say it's Adam Rating. It's on Instagram at Adam Rating.
No. Hold on now.
But we're in the middle of that part, though, because I want him to go check out my movie.
Wait, I'm great with what you said. However, that wasn't a question when I end. Well, let's do the end, and then I'll ask you the last question.
All good. No, do your thing.
Listen, folks, here's how I end every episode, which is, Adam Torres, first of all, I 100% acknowledge you for your effort and your exuberance, and to make things feel so true and right, whether it's your decision making, whether the sense of having a literal flood in your apartment, to having your trash picturized, to the podcast, to the choices, to all that stuff. But you make it feel so real and true. And for that, I acknowledge you. I thank you for being here. And secondly, here's the part where I was going to say, I will have your website up when I ask you what's the best way to find you. I'm obviously not going to have you start with www. The website will be up, your social platforms, and also, without a doubt, I will have Adam at Adam Rating up there as well too, because folks, you must see this series of movies. I was fishing around. There's no current stories, but I've got reels, I got posts, I am ready. So at Adam Rating will be there, and you will not have to dig or guess or wonder.
Yeah.
But Adam, I'm going to ask you, is there anywhere else that you would
honestly, the only place anyone needs to go is just ask Adam Torres on Instagram. That's super simple. And my link tree's there. Like, even for the website, John, I tell you, just put Ask Adam Torres on Instagram, and everybody that wants to or cares can go there. And if you want to go to the website, we got so much free stuff on that link tree. We got free ebooks, you name it, how to write a bestseller, how to start a show, newsletter, name it. I believe we give away more free content than any other company on the planet that's our size, like, period, like, bar none. So just go to Ask Adam Torres on Instagram, and if you got a show idea for a podcast, you got a book idea, anything like that, I always like to hear ideas. Shoot me a DM. Love to hear different ideas out there, and let's keep the conversation going. So Ask Adam Torres on Instagram.
It's amazing. I'm going to tell you, this was such an enjoyable conversation. I am really grateful to you, man. So I will ask Adam Torres just to keep every conversation going, because you make them fun, engaging, productive, and it's been a blast. So I thank you, sir, for showing up.
Appreciate you, John. Thank you for all you do.
100%. Be well, folks. You just heard another episode of Your Message Received. Keep liking, watching, sharing, telling your family, and we will keep driving content through your front door or wherever. Have a great day, folks. Be well, and we will talk soon. Bye.
And now, making its way across the finish line, Your Message Received has been a production of Duffin Media.